Welcome to OTR Debate, our off-the-record podcast where three lawyers debate all things while managing to find out how it all comes back to the law. I am Mucci, I work in immigration, and I'll be the judge this week. I'm a recent convert to anime, and I've always been a big fan of horror, so I'm interested to see how these horror anime stack up against one another. We have Death Parade and Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead. So let me introduce the debaters. On one side, we have someone whose interest in anime always seems to be something with death in the title, Lando.
Hi, I'm Lando. I'm a prosecutor. And so I've seen two anime, one by force and one by my own choosing, Death Note, because I love it and it's great and it's great anime. Not going to talk about it right now, but
A little bit though.
But I'm glad you made me watch this other one, Death Parade, because it's really good.
Okay.
That's part of my opening. So
Okay. And on the other side, we have someone who was criticizing Tucker and Dale versus Evil until I told him it was supposed to be funny. It's because it's a horror comedy, and I assume Zom 100 is also a horror comedy. Wee.
Hi, I'm Wee. I work in state government, and I'll be defending Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead today, and it is indeed a horror comedy.
Got it. Okay. I guessed right. So before we get started, I just want to go over the format. As always, it's going to be opening statements, and then I'll ask the debaters a series of questions. At the end, they'll close, and along the way, we might take a brief recess. All right, for your openings, guys, now be brief, but I'll let whoever wants to get started right now.
I could start.
okay.
All right. So Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, which I'm just going to, from now on, just call it Zom 100 because it's too long. But
Not like going to be like me in the One Piece episode and keep saying Monkey D. Luffy over and over again. Its full name.
exactly.
Sometimes you have to do the full name.
And sometimes you don't, so I'm going to choose that one. But basically, it's an anime that came out last year in 2023. Its overall premise is that the main character, Akira, he's a 24-year-old man who's working in Tokyo at this really exploitative company and is just kind of droning along, going to work, going home sometimes, working late nights and everything, subject to a lot of abuse at work from his superiors. And he's just like kind of dreading life, and luckily for him, a zombie apocalypse breaks out in Tokyo, and he's kind of somewhat relieved because he doesn't have to go to work anymore. And so with this newfound freedom that he has of not having to go to work, he starts writing a bucket list of items that he wants to do before he becomes a zombie, and that's kind of just where the series goes.
Got it. Yeah, it does sound pretty funny.
Sounds relatable. And I saw the live action, and I remember thinking, man, so many people must relate to that kind of experience of wanting something catastrophic, like
Catastrophic, so they don't have to go to work.
Just happen. So just a slight hit of a car or something like that. Like some bones.
Not enough to kill you, but like to send you to the hospital.
Yeah, I mean,
Although with American work culture, they're like, oh, you just broke your leg, you can still type.
True.
All right, so with Death Parade, I'll start at kind of the beginning here. 2013, Death Billiards, a short film, kind of basically an episode, because it was around the same amount of time as each episode in Death Parade. That came out by Yuzuru. You're gonna have to help me on this, Mucci, with the last name.
Tachikawa.
Tachikawa.
I didn't say that like Tachikawa.
Sachikawa, there you go. So his idea, really good, very interesting concept of basically people entering this place with no memory. It's a bar. They show up, they have no idea how they got there. They meet this person called Deckham. The place is called the Quinn Deckham. And essentially, they're there to play a game against each other. Most of the time, it's two people. The choosing of the game is at random. The bartender, Deckham, just kind of watches and observes and essentially judges them based on all the actions that they are taking upon playing either pool. In billiards, it was pool. In other games, there's darts and what have you. But basically judging them to see if they're going to be reincarnated or if they are going to go into the void. Basically some place where, you're just feeling nothing but sorrow and all the bad emotions, none of the good ones. Very interesting concept. The characters kind of revolve because it's a lot of people that are just coming there to play the game because they're already dead. And it's just a lot of twists and turns because their memories aren't there when they first get there, but as the show or the episode carries on, they start remembering bits and pieces of what happened and how they ended up there, essentially. So really good show. I was not expecting to like it at all. I don't know. Okay, Death Parade. But it's a really good show. And I wish there were more episodes, and it kind of left me hanging. But yeah, very interesting concept.
Yeah. So it's pretty short, right? It's like
12 episodes.
okay.
Yeah.
And no plans to make any more, as far as you know.
Right. And from what I've seen, it looked like there was no plan to make anything else. And also online, people were like, "Well, there's no way they could make anything else the way it ended." I just recently saw the last episode, and they absolutely could, because it seems like they really set it up for a second season.
Oh, interesting.
But I mean, really, with that kind of concept, you could just keep I mean, there is a subplot, or the main plot, I guess, which is less interesting than the people coming in, but there is a main plot of the bartenders, these judges that are judging the different souls that come in. There's their plot going on, but really the most interesting part is just these random people that are coming in after they've died, playing these games and being judged. So that concept and that kind of idea could be just done for a long time with different games and different characters and different stories. Like I'm surprised, given the reception it got, given everything, that it didn't last for multiple seasons. It's a really good show.
Okay. You guys kind of went over your premise, the concept already, but that's kind of what hooks me into any new show, but particularly a new anime, is a unique, interesting premise. And so you explained your premises a little bit. How does that set it apart from other works in the horror genre and or other anime, I guess?
There you go. Yeah. So I kind of talked about the premise a little bit. It's pretty interesting in that not like a typical horror. It's not slasher. It's not like ghosts that are haunting you. It's not kind of paranormal things. It's really just a show entirely about the afterlife and what could be the situation of after we die and where we go. And it touches on philosophy, it touches on like religion and all that, but it's based on the way it's kind of set with the music. Some of the visuals are very gory, but it's not all gory. So there's scenes where like someone's like spitting up blood like crazy. There's scenes where people are super angry and very hostile and trying to kill everybody. Like, so it's just the way that it just feels. I don't even know how to explain it really. Just everything, the mood that it gives is very much horror,
like a sense of dread or something, or
the whole thing is
hopelessness?
so dreadful and so hopeless. I couldn't watch this show at night. Like I was like, man, I've got some time right now. Like it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm like, I got some time. I'm like, I should probably watch this because we got to record. But man, I was like, I don't know. I don't want to feel so like sort of down, but also creeped out. But it's just a wave of kind of different things with it, just because it's like it has you thinking like, what is the afterlife, and like what does it all mean? And these people, some of them accept their fate of where they're going, some of them hate where they're going, they know where they're going, and they're just so angry. And it just
So I recently have found some like chill anime I've liked to watch before bed, like as I'm winding down. So it's not something that's going to be like Attack on Titan or something that's like really devastating or dread inducing or creepy or anything like that. But sometimes I've kind of screwed up and picked a show that looked like it was kind of going to be chill, but then it was like, for example, Your Lie in April. It's like it's a show about these like musician kids that like start to like each other. But
that seems kind of chill.
Yeah, but then it goes into how the main character was like abused by his mom to be a good piano player, and her death and his like guilt surrounding that. I'm like, okay, this is too heavy for watching before bed. So it's easy to make some mistakes, I think.
Yeah. But then there's other shows that you do watch that are actually chill, right? Something about a campfire.
Laid Back Camp.
Right.
Check it out. Did you have any more? Or
No.
okay. So did you want to tell me more about your show and the
Sure.
premise?
I think it sounds quite a bit opposite actually of Orlando's show. That it's overall very bright and fun and positive, which I think is a good way that it sets itself apart from other horror, especially zombie type of movies and shows, where like it's not so much focused on the survivor like aspect of it of like trying to outlast this apocalypse, but it's more just kind of accepting the fate of like, I'm eventually going to be a zombie anyway, let me just try to do everything I couldn't do for the last 3 years because I've been stuck in this office working. And
Yeah, when you're saying horror comedy involving zombies, of course I'm thinking like Zombieland
Right.
or Shaun of the Dead or something like that. But I see how you said set it apart because those are about them trying to fight back against the zombies instead of just kind of going about their lives. Which I see.
Yeah, and I
Concept.
think obviously they are fighting some zombies throughout, and I think it's not like absent of that. Like the reality is like they are trying to survive generally, or at least like
If they don't make it, they don't make it.
yeah, but like he wants to finish his bucket list at least. So
If he dies, he dies.
but I think
Draco just comes out in the middle of the show.
I think it's kind of a fresh take because he's just kind of like carefree for the most part because a zombie apocalypse is better than working basically, and so he doesn't live with that dread of like having to go to the office in the morning, and I think that
And to be clear, like, so at least because I haven't seen the anime, but I saw the live action, and when you're like talking about, oh, he doesn't have to go to the office, like from the live action, his office setting was really shit. Like they were horrible to him, and he was working like nonstop. I think he was like sleeping there, which is like could be common in certain office settings in certain parts of the world where you're like sleeping in your office and just waking up and working. So it seemed pretty
Also-
fucking bad for him.
Behind the particular country in which the show is set, actually.
right, yeah,
That's what I
so
hear.
I think it does.
You try to work there?
No. That's the reason why not.
I think overall it is a kind of a commentary on like Japanese workplace like stresses, and also kind of the glorification of big city life too, because he is originally from the countryside of Japan and like wants to go to the big city and make it big and like be successful in that aspect, but realizing that climbing the corporate ladder is not all that it's built up to be, and I think too like you get introduced to other characters that kind of become the main group of his friends and his family later on. But each person is they have their own backstory. And I think that the show does a good job of exploring the reasons for each person's, or like their motivation basically for making it through the zombie apocalypse, which I think was very refreshing.
Okay. All right. Well, in the horror genre, aesthetics is a really important thing to me. Sometimes even more than the story. Like a cool scene or a cool kill or something like that, or just atmosphere, music, and all that kind of stuff. So, how does your show capture or portray a unique atmosphere in horror, whether through its music, its production, its animation, something like that? Whoever wants to start.
Sure, I can start. As I mentioned earlier, it kind of this anime subverts from the typical horror and like zombie genre. I think particularly in the sense that it is kind of just so bright and joyful, and I think with its animation style, like when there's blood splattering everywhere, it's not always red. It's like just very colorful. And I think it does have some gore. Obviously, the zombies are clearly zombies because of scars or open wounds or, open mouths and kind of gross looking eyes and stuff like that. But it's still overall is the tone of the show is like very positive, like I mentioned. And there are still small reminders throughout that it's still, a zombie apocalypse. And I don't want to say that the whole show is overall positive because there are some parts where it gets very sad, especially when he's interacting with certain like side characters. He has like love interests every episode. Not every episode, but like he goes through certain
They
crushes.
die every episode.
A
Basically,
different one, everyone?
there's a few girls that he likes, and
There's 12 episodes, right?
yeah, there's not 12 girls,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah.
It's like
But-
Jerry Seinfeld. This is not a high schooler though.
But he loses a lot of his crushes to the zombies. So he has to find and fixate on someone else basically. But I think what really captures the horror aspect outside of the zombies is the show does kind of go into, like I mentioned, the history of some of the other characters, and I think a lot of that is horrific in its own sense because there's stories of abuse with Shizuka, like the main other.
She's the treadmill girl.
Yeah,
girl in
the one who's
treadmill.
training and like he like meets randomly in the convenience store.
Right.
But she kind of is a recurring character until she joins the party later. And then there's also Kencho, his friend from university.
Him I
kind of-
remember.
Yeah. And I think that's a reference to his the common showing of his butthole. Maybe.
I
He's
don't know
just
if they
like
showed this in the live action.
yeah, he's just like often naked all the time, and like obviously it's a censored butthole, but he's like showing. I don't know. That's kind of Japanese humor. I think
like
sometimes.
what? Like the zombies, like kiss my ass kind of thing.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
But in other
Sometimes not.
yeah, sometimes not. It's just there all the time.
It's there all the-
And then just to like finish wrapping up the main character group is Beatrix, who is a German girl who just like she's a weeb. She like loves everything about Japanese culture and lives in Japan. But yeah, so it kind of just like in terms of
I was gonna make a comment about Germany and Japan, but go there.
right, they just need
Just
one
love
more
each other?
to fix to finish the Axis powers. There's a little bit of something for everyone in the show, I think, and especially for season 1 having 12 episodes only, they kind of go through a lot of different subpoints. I think for me personally, what I really liked was towards the end of season 1, where he goes back to the countryside because one of his bucket list is to visit his parents and spend time with his parents and make them happy. And I can really relate to that. And just like he wants to show the gratitude for them putting up with him and his wishes to go to the big city and like leave the farm and all of this stuff. And it shows humanity in many ways with their character interactions. And then, there's antagonists who are trying to wreak havoc on everyone, all the survivors basically too, which I don't know. Basically the horror is like the friends we made along the way.
So you said season 1 though.
That scared me. With their butthole.
Right.
Saying you said season 1, and you said yours was also 12 episodes, I believe.
Yeah, so it's pretty
It's
short.
gonna continue though, for sure. Or
I don't know for sure, but he didn't finish 100 bucket list items, and also they're not limited to just him too, because as Kensho and Shizuka and Beatrix join his group, they also add their own bucket list items to his 100. And by the end of season 1, like he's maybe in the 30 count. Like he's not really that
higher
close.
than I thought though. In
That
12
is.
episodes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, a
Yeah.
lot of them are like pretty conveniently checked off because like one of them, he wants to like wine and dine with flight attendants, and one of the episodes he just
Oh, yeah.
happens to be with flight attendants. So it kind of lands in his lap. But, for the most part, I think there's probably, because it
Kind
was
of like
so,
the flight attendants.
because it was so well received, I think they're likely going to get season 2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My name is Earl. He never got to finish his little list of deeds, so that's not a guarantee the show's going to continue. Just
Yeah. Hopefully though, because it is a really fun watch and
good.
very quick too. Like my list of things to watch is just ever growing, but I finished this in one afternoon, so it was pretty good.
that's pretty crazy. Yeah.
I would think so. I mean, it got a live action, and I think that was.
And the live action kind of came out during the production of the anime too.
Yeah.
From what I
so
was
that
reading, I haven't seen the live action yet, but I think when episode 1 dropped of the anime, they had already announced they're making a live action, and so a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's so
premature
good."
kind of thing, maybe.
Or yeah, they're like, "It's getting a live action after one episode. It's so good." But
What was it based on?
there's a
Anime?
manga,
Oh, manga,
from
yeah.
2018, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right.
But I don't really know like how far along in the manga.
So
they
it
are,
wasn't
or-
just like a movie based only on one episode of the show. Like
yeah, from the preview that I
it
saw
was.
though, it is pretty like shot for
Just
shot.
1-to-1?
Like it is.
Wow.
Producers and execs saw the butthole, and they're like, "We need to make a live action of this shit."
Well, I wonder who they casted for Kensho. Hopefully
He's comfortable with that.
his butthole looks the same. I don't know.
Censored. Just like little dots and what are they called? The QR code. On his
Well, the censorship they use is not like the pixelated stuff. It's like just a scribble, basically.
Oh, okay. Kind of
so-
makes it work worse.
All right. So what do you got?
For Death Parade.
Not Death Note.
Yeah, not Death Note.
Unfortunately.
Well, speaking of Death Note, actually, so just a little tidbit
yeah, you
of
said-
Death Parade. One of the episodes I was watching, and I was just kind of watching them like just casually, like one here, one the next day or whatever. And I was watching, I forget which episode it was too. I think it might have been maybe 5, I believe. Episode 5. Yes. So it was episode 5, Death Twister, where basically a celebrity dancer and a fan of the celebrity dancer get sent to a different arbiter, a different judge than the main judge. And he's kind of, that arbiter is like kind of bored of his job. He's kind of like, oh, none of this matters. It's like all bullshit anyways. So he's like kind of just a slacker. But essentially, they play their game. The fan and the celebrity play their game. The celebrity ends up losing, kind of sacrificing for the fan. Like, I'm nothing without you. She's super girl crazy for this guy. She's given a choice by the arbiter. Like, you can, this is where he's going. He's going to go to the void. You can take his place, or someone can take his place. And he basically gives her a choice of like, here's another person that could take his place. And it like shows a screenshot or like a video of someone. And it's fucking like Light Yagami just sitting on the screen. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, same haircut, same like, and like, I mean, a lot of the anime and a lot of the animation is kind of the
Similar
same.
haircut, I
Yeah,
guess.
similar haircut, similar build all the
hairstyles, yeah.
time. But he looked like he was wearing the same outfit. Like he had like
Maybe
this
it's
like
a reference.
it might
Homage.
be. I mean, he's definitely going to the void. Like,
Yeah.
because, but yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. In terms of how it kind of fits in the horror genre, I had already mentioned just basically the feel of it all. I will mention that Death Parade won the 2016 anime best original anime category and was nominated for Anime of the Year, Supernatural Anime of the Year, Mystery or Psychological Anime of the Year, and was nominated also for the opening theme song, which is a fucking bop.
Oh, I might ask about that later.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Keep that in mind.
So what I was getting at was Mystery, Psychological Anime of the Year, Supernatural Anime of the Year. I mean, it gives off these themes. Like it's kind of spooky for a spooky season. There's several. There's one where, in particular, the first 2 episodes, where there's 2 like honeymooners show up. They both die. They don't know that they were married. They end up getting memories back, and the husband is like getting memories of what he thinks to be his wife like cheating on him and stuff like that. So he starts becoming, the game's like pitting them against each other. It's a dart game where if you wherever your darts land affects like the organs of the other person. So at first they're
gruesome.
missing. Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. At first they're missing because they're like, well, of course we're not going to do it. But then as he's getting these memories of like, she cheated on me, like what the hell? And then like there's a kind of her saying that she's pregnant and somehow the dart just magically lands on her stomach and then she's feeling pain.
Jeez.
Yeah. And at this point,
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be darker than that. Okay.
well, so I mean, at that point, they're like, "Oh, I hope that we didn't lose a baby," but because they don't know they're dead yet. That in most of the episodes, they find out that they're dead at the very end of the game. So they're playing this game. They're like, "How is this set up?" It's like attached to my nervous system. Like I'm
it's like Jigsaw.
yeah, it's very much like And there's slight blood in that one. In other ones, there's way more blood, but not too much. But it is very sort of like Jigsaw. Like, you're here to play a game. It's kind of torturous, and there's all these. For that one, it's the first 2 episodes. Like, all the other ones are just 1 episode a game, but that one's set up where it's talks about it in the first 2 episodes because it's a pretty good one, and there's a lot of twists and turns with it.
So, are the games like kind of themed to like what happened between the 2 people? Like I guess the dart hitting the stomach themed to like the baby, and then worried about losing it. Are there other ones that are themed around like what someone did to someone else, or like what they're put through has to pit them against each other in a way that relates back to their actual history?
So not thinking back, they're not all of them. I mean, that one that I talked about with the fan and the celebrity, they're kind of connected somewhat, but they're not really connected through death the same way as the honeymooners. But there is an episode, I think it's episode 6, Death Air Hockey. And most of them are like Death the game and Death Air Hockey. They, again, two guys come in. One's an older guy. One's like a kid, I think. They come in and they're told they're going to play this game, whatever. One's a detective. The older one's a detective. And the other one's just a kid. The roulette shows that they're going to play some air hockey. The detective's like, well, let's just, because they're told they can't leave and that the game that they're playing affects their life. And so he's like, let's just play the game, see what happens. Which I'm very surprised that none of these people like attack the bartender or like threaten the bartender, like, let me out of here at the very, very beginning. Once he's like throwing this all out there, he's just very matter of fact, like emotionless, and everybody's just like, okay, well, let's play the game, I guess. But so they're playing the game, and then the memories start coming back, and they're very connected in that at the very beginning of the episode, the bartender / judge and his assistant were basically called up by their bosses saying, you've got a murderer coming in, or like a murderer's coming in. And at first, throughout the whole episode, and this is not spoilers because this came out in 2015. You should have probably seen it.
Yeah,
much like I should have seen it. But.
Well, people are clicking on this. Hopefully, they've seen the 12 episodes, or if not, just go ahead and watch it real quick if you're interested.
Yeah, but they're connected, and through essentially who's the murderer, how are they connected, did one kill the other, and it kind of has you guessing throughout the whole thing. The kid has a knife in his backpack and he's like, oh shit, what the fuck is this? And then later on he finds out, like, kind of how everything played out, and they're very connected. And that's one where a lot of anger comes out through both parties, and it's just very heated towards the end, and they know that they're being judged, but they're still going ape shit. They're like really just screaming at each other, trying to kill each other, and they know that their actions are being judged, which just kind of seems really stupid. Like, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty, that's one where they're pretty connected.
Okay. So for a recess segment this time, we're going to do one we've done once before called Quiet in Court. And that's where both debaters try to get the judge to laugh with different thematic jokes or puns or whatever they have. I'm usually a pretty easy laugh, but I'm going to try to be as stone-faced as possible this time.
That's what I like about you. You easy laugh. Usually I do the shotgun approach where I'm just like telling joke after joke and then something's landing.
You should try that this time.
Yeah. Well, we get 3 jokes, right?
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe more likely to laugh as each one passes.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll give each of you a point for whatever joke makes me laugh.
Okay.
So, Lando, you want to start?
Sure. In keeping with Death Parade, and just picture me showing up to the Quindecum, meeting the bartender, my judge, and then the memories are starting to flow in as how I died. And when I see it in my memory, in my mind's eye, I was shocked to find out that my toaster wasn't waterproof.
Shocked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I'm worth point for that one.
What do dyslexic zombies eat?
What do they eat?
Brian's.
Lando?
Because of brains. Okay.
Specifically, people named Brian.
What does a creepy Pokemon do while you're in the shower?
What?
Pikachu.
Stop.
Stuff-faced.
We?
Why do zombies avoid eating clowns?
Why?
They taste funny.
Okay, 1 and 1. I guess we're 1 and 1.
Okay. So most of these I got most of them, like most of the joke off the internet, and then just kind of add a little bit. But for this one, I was looking at it, and the commenter on it kind of made the joke for me. So it's a little bit of a two-parter here. Okay, doctor. So the doctor's talking. I have good news and I have bad news. And the patient says, "Give me the good news first." And the doctor tells him, "Your test results are back, and you only have 2 days to live." And the patient says, "That's the good news? What's the bad news?" And the doctor says, "I've been trying to reach you for 2 days."
Okay. Yeah.
The commenter it just put asterisks and put dies.
All right.
Or could have been substituted with dead, or
The dead emoji.
maybe like a skeleton emoji.
Yeah, pretty good. Okay. Last
right.
one. We.
All right. Do you guys know if I could take some butt flesh and graft it onto somebody who's not a relative? Asking for a friend.
Okay.
Asking,
Skin
yeah.
for a friend. Yes.
Okay.
All right. I think it's a tie again.
Okay. Yeah.
That was our recess segment. And yeah, before we go into the final question and closings, I want to remind everyone to please like and subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube, follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and rate us 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And leave a good review. We'd really appreciate it.
Don't do it based on these jokes, all right? But if you have some jokes of your own and you want to put them in the comments somewhere, maybe on YouTube or on, I think Spotify has...
Spotify comments, I think. Yeah, you can,
Okay.
you can leave comments in the episodes. Don't do it solely based on those jokes, but if you really liked them, then that's another plus. All right. So, as always, our last question is a legal-related question. Is there anything in your shows that ties back to the law somehow, or has a legal theme at least that's followed?
I would say for Zom 100 at least, it doesn't necessarily, the plot doesn't explore the law really, but as I was watching it, I was kind of thinking about what would really happen if there was a zombie apocalypse. Could you be held liable for any crimes you maybe committed, or, in particular, I think there are scenes in Zom 100 where they're like taking things what they need from the convenience store, obviously without paying because there's no one there. They steal like gold watches just because that's like something they want to do. And then like they're killing
It's on the
a bunch
bucket
of,
list?
I don't know if that necessarily was on the bucket
He
list.
doesn't really have material things on the bucket list, right? I think
Yeah,
there's
not
like
really. It's
one
more
thing,
like
maybe like a...
Experiences or something? mostly?
Yeah, more experiences, things he wanted
He
to
wants to
do.
experience stealing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Murder.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, yeah,
Get really dark.
are zombies like? Can they be victims of a murder? Are they already dead?
No, he wants to kill a living person.
A survivor. But yeah, I
Always
kinda
wanted
think
to do
about
that.
it,
The
like-
show could be very dark if it wanted to be.
Right. Well, speaking of which, I mean, the antagonist that has come later, like he has his own bucket list and his own group of like friends, I guess, not really friends, but like a group of outcasts from society, and they do have a kind of a darker bucket list, and that's when they're like wreaking havoc on the survivors in the countryside when they go back to his parents' hometown. But yeah, I kind of explore the idea on my own and just like, would zombies, are they alive to be, considered murder victims? Are there like...
Well, they already died.
Yeah, but like, in this case too, and I think in many zombie genre movies, there's like, it happens because of a virus. And if there's a cure for the virus, they
They'd
could
be
be
cured.
reversed on
Yeah.
humans then.
Right.
But then you go into like self-defense because they are like trying to attack you.
I mean, even if they were dead after the virus, I mean, like maybe like charges like desecration of a corpse, something, like something along
Shot
those
this
lines.
corpse's head off. Not supposed to do that.
Habeas corpus.
We're done with
Save for the
recess,
jokes.
okay?
I actually don't even remember what habeas corpus is, but yeah. So that's kind of the legal themes I was thinking
We'll
of.
put the
in the
definition
show,
right here.
All right, what legal themes anything in Death Parade?
Yeah, I mean, so the whole concept is basically it's a very heavy on morality, right from wrong, good and bad. Basically judging people on not only their memories, because the arbiters, the judges of these people, these souls that come in, and when they come in as like people, right? They're walking in, but it's their souls. And then once they're cast to either the void or, well, I guess it's just the void, because if they're reincarnated, they become another person and they experience another life. But if once they're sent out to the void, they're dummies. So that's another, I failed to mention that, but part of the show is we're all dummies. Like everyone's a dummy. Like your skin starts peeling off, you become just like a crash test dummy, and you're lifeless and you're sitting there. So there's scenes where that celebrity dancer, when he was done, he was sent to the void, his body's just lifeless. And then it's a really nice it kind of symbolic as to their relationship sort of, but when the two of them, the fan and the celebrity, get cast into the void essentially together because she chose to just go with him, like kind of some crazed fan, they both turn into zombies in the elevator that takes them down to the void. And as they're turning into to dummies, they kind of just like are laying on each other, and their dummy hands are just like on each other. And
Sounds like a Black Mirror episode or something.
yeah, it's I mean, so this is like some of the horror aspects of it, you know. But these are all kind of like, it tackles the issues of like, how do you judge someone, you know, because, you know, no system is going to be perfect. You know, we have our judicial system here. We have our, you know, our criminal system where, you know, we had someone that's accused of a crime has certain rights. They, in the U.S., they have a right to a jury or a judge to be either judged by a jury of their peers or judged by a licensed attorney judge who will, you know, not only sit for the, you know, legal aspects of the case before it goes to trial, but also the facts and determine if they're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You know, there's various different barriers and regulations and all, you know, things that are set in place for our system. But in Death Parade, they have these arbiters that are, it really seems very like loosey-goosey in terms of how they're determining, you know, whether someone should go to the void forever, I guess, or being reincarnated. I mean, the first episode and the first two episodes, the main character arbiter makes his decision. One of the characters goes to the void, and then the second episode kind of like plays a little bit of what happened in the first episode, but the assistant, the so-called assistant, who's actually a human that's being long-term judged in a different way than the games, she kind of talks to him and his bosses, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I think you made the wrong decision. This is why, like, I think that person was lying. You know, I think she was lying to save him and this and that. And by the end of the second episode, you're thinking, oh shit, he just judged him completely incorrectly. These judges are also not without fault. And this system of, you know, basically judging someone for all eternity is somewhat flawed as well.
Is there any right to an appeal, or?
I mean, it didn't seem that way.
They're done.
It didn't seem like a. And throughout the show, there were a couple different spots where the arbiter gives the person a chance to, like, you know, hey, you can go back and live your life if you do this, but the people don't. But I feel like they were being tested. Like if they did that, like the fan, if she chose to switch out someone else's soul for the celebrity, then I feel like she would have been judged harshly based on that decision. Like she would have been sent to the void because she wanted to, you know, basically sacrifice someone else for him. And the same with a different character later on. But yeah, it seems like when they're in the void, they're in the void. Later on down the road, it kind of explains a little bit about what happens after the void, or like how you could get out of the void or whatever. But certain things are kind of final, it seems like. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's an appeal process.
Confusing legal standard and
It
no
seems
appeal.
pretty final because I mean, at the end of the second episode, where basically all parties are thinking, yeah, he was probably wrong. They didn't take any steps after that.
It's just, well,
Well,
just eternity.
yeah.
All right, so one thing for the closings I want to do this time was, anime tend to have really exciting and memorable opening and closing themes, and I think each of you picked one to highlight from your show.
Yep.
So, Lando, we start with the Death Parade one, and you can comment
Let's
on it as
do
you go
that.
through.
It's just as a preface to that, I just want to say this has, if you haven't seen the show and you're watching this, it does not match up whatsoever. This is like a very upbeat kind of song, and the show's not so upbeat, and it's a lot more dreary. But this is a bop, and I really like it. And when I first heard it, I was like, man, this is fucking good. So
It's gonna be a fun show.
yeah, it's gonna be so happy.
All right, let's see. Are those all the judges?
Yeah, so
The
I
show?
think for the most part in this theme, most of them are the judges, the arbiters, they're bartenders. That's the human soul.
That main guy with the white hair is the main
Yeah.
bartender.
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Deckham.
Declan. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here's some of the games they play. All right. Darts and cards and
Yeah.
DDR.
stuff. DDR.
I mean, that could have been an
Is there
episode.
Death
Like that's the
DDR?
thing. You could have
That's what
probably.
the D stand for. Death Revolution.
It's mixed in with a couple of the different contestants or the couple of souls that came in. There's like one that had like a little mini skirt and it shows her death scene, so you'd probably like it. She slips on a bar of soap in the
Seamless
shower.
girl tie. Yeah, this is
Not
very.
in a mini skirt.
No, she's actually naked. You see it, Mucci.
What is it?
Butthole.
Oh,
Yeah, so this is one of the
it's
bigger
more
bosses.
upbeat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it was a contrast, I guess, between the upbeat nature of the song and the darkness of the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
And once the English portion of it comes in, it's like, that's my jam. I love it.
All right, now for Wee's closing, we'll go with Wee's opening. For the opening of his show, I guess. This is opening number 2, right?
Yeah, so for Zom 100, actually, it was nominated in both Best Opening Sequence and Best Ending Sequence as well. But what we're going to see is the opening sequence kind of in the latter half of the season because it does kind of transition as more characters are introduced.
Out of 12 episodes, they had 2.
6.
Well, it's the
6 to
same
12.
song, but I think it's more of like a music video because the characters are kind of like lip syncing and stuff to the lyrics, which kind of explore themes of like optimism and optimistic nihilism. So kind of just like there's no meaning in life, but
Just singing.
let's make our own meaning, basically.
Okay.
So,
That's kind of it's something that kind of shows up in Death Parade. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you like, so I'm guessing you like this one better than the first one?
Yeah, I mean, it's more fun, and I think
Okay.
it's instead of juxtaposing like with Death Parade, it kind of emblem or like it shows exactly what the show is about.
Right.
Pretty
What
much.
you see on
the
the tin.
tone of it is like very fun and bright and happy.
Okay.
Because I mean, with
Looks
Death,
colorful so far.
yeah, with Death Note, I know they changed up the opening song, which the first one was so good. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. No, I
It
love
was
the second one.
So you love the second
up,
one? It's the first one's so good, and I'm like, oh man,
Yeah,
this is
the
so
first one's
awesome.
good too, yeah.
And then like they change it, and it's just like this death metal. Like he's like singing in English too, right? Like
At different parts, yeah. He just say "What's up, people." That's the
yeah,
that's
what's
the,
up, people? And I'm like, wait, I'm like that makes no sense. Like what? What?
Yeah, this
So-
one it's the same song. It just they
It's
just
changed.
add a little bit different.
Okay,
scenes
well, that's
and
good.
stuff.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Our closings. I
And
will
heard.
make my decision. What? See, and heard. Yes.
They didn't have it on mute.
we didn't. No, we didn't. So, based on the openings, I do like Wee's opening a bit more. It is more fun, and that song's gonna be stuck in my head, I think. But I think the concept of Death Parade sounds much more interesting and much more of like a unique anime-y concept. That is what got me into anime, and what gets me into a new show. I think is a cool, interesting concept. And Zom 100 sounds fun, but like it sounds like a zombie land of sorts. Still sounds kind of like that, even though we kind of distinguished it a little bit.
Did Zombieland come after? Before?
No, I mean, it came out like a long time ago. Like,
Yeah, because
well,
this
this is a
just
newer
came out
one.
last year.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
right, that's right.
2023.
so yeah, I think I'll give it to Death Parade this time to Orlando.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. It's a
Anime
really-
made you watch, apparently.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. When we were picking the ones that we wanted to debate, this one sounded really interesting to me,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't fuck with anime like that. But but like
Yeah,
I heard
maybe
this,
you
I was
will.
like, you know what? I don't know. And then I was on your Crunchyroll account.
You were?
I don't know if we're supposed to do that, but I was, and I don't know. It seemed like, man, this is 2 out of the 2 that I've watched. Maybe there's a lot more to anime that I'm kind of been, seeing. So
just got to find other ones with death in the title.
yeah, that's probably it.
We might have exhausted that. Well, maybe not. And we'll see. But
There were a
yeah.
couple other ones that came up when I was starting to
When you
search
said
them.
death, okay. Well, I don't have to, be beholden to that. I think there's a lot more out there that you will like, but we'll maybe hear more about that in a future episode.
It still doesn't trump Death Note though. Just
Yeah.
to be perfectly clear,
I can kind of tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's generally regarded as one of the best ones. So, yeah. All right, so that'll do it for this episode of OTR Debate. Thanks, guys, and thanks for watching or listening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.